Welcome back to the Nano Cruising Podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Marceau. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Eric Miller. Eric built the Raid Erie 2025 from his dedication to sailing to bringing a group of sailors together. This is a really fun and interesting conversation. So today we have Eric Miller. Eric is from, I guess, the Raid Erie group, and he's reached out to me and wanted to talk, I think, mostly about how he grew his group. And a lot of people actually do ask me, where do I start? I'm alone in my area. Where do I start? Eric, before we get into the Raid Erie and the group, I kind of love to hear the story how you first found yourself sailing a small boat, and was there a moment, a trip early on that you really hooked you on dinghy cruising? Maybe let's start there.
Oh, what a great question. What a great memory that is for me. So for me, I think a lot of people from our tribe of small boat people, everybody started on something like a laser or a Hobie or an Optimist. You hear that a lot, right?
Correct.
I lived in Inland, Ohio, in northern Cincinnati, and one of my friends named Rex, who went to another school, he lived in one of those apartment complexes that had a little dock, and they had a
Nice.
sunfish and a laser and a Hobie cat, and so he and I would just reading books, and this is before the internet, right? So just like reading books and hacking our way through it, we were like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn for 2 or 3 summers as young men, on the boat. On Land and Lake in northern Cincinnati,
Awesome.
and we eventually figured it out.
Awesome.
And then not to make a long boat story short, lots of boats in between that point and this.
Right.
I lived on a 38-foot boat in Panama for 5 years. My wife didn't really like sailing too much until we got to the Exumas on a vacation, and she liked the catamarans. And so in the last 3 or 4 years, I got my ASA skipper's license. And it was on one of those trips that I fell in love with small boats again, because I found myself sort of going way out of my way during the day to go, I'd have to go 6 nautical miles out around a sandbar and 6 nautical miles back just to go 2 nautical miles south, right? And that's
Right.
when I was like, you know what, if I had a Sea Pearl, I wouldn't have to do this, right? And so that's when it was about 4 years ago, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get back into small boats. And that's when I started, getting back into it.
Great. That's great. And then, so you moved, I guess, from the big boat, and you went into dinghy cruising a little bit. Yeah. So what boats do you have, and what do you do these days?
Well, I've had a really successful year in downsizing the boatyard in the backyard, which very, very few of us boat people can live to say they've achieved that. So I started the year with 5 boats. In the past, 3 to 5 years, I've had a Thistle, a Laser, a Weta trimaran that I took to Lake Erie and did some trips on. I have an Angus Expedition rowboat that's currently being built in the basement. That's about 30% done.
Wow.
But this year I was really successful in getting rid of, and I also had a John boat that I took them fishing on. This year we got rid of the Laser, the Thistle. We got rid of a whole bunch of boats, and now I just have 2 boats. I have the Scamp.
Yes.
I was actually able to pretty much trade my Weta for a Scamp.
Nice.
In a 3-way transaction from Florida. So really, really happy with the Scamp. I have Scamp number 157, which was built. It started in a Scamp camp in 2018 with Howard Rice. Scamp camp number 2.
Right.
I also have a 18-foot Expedition stand-up paddleboard. It's an inflatable stand-up paddleboard, but it has a really cool rowing rig on it. It has a sliding rigger rowing rig.
Wow.
So it's not a sliding seat; it's a sliding rigger.
Okay.
It's called a row sup.
Okay.
It's very, very smooth, and the benefit is obviously you're not moving 200 pounds a person back and forth on every stroke. The body sits still, and the rigger only weighs about 15 pounds, and so you're moving a lot less weight back and forth. And then also there's no hobby horsing because you're not transferring so much weight. You just put the seat right in the middle of the boat, and then you're only moving the rigger and the oars. It takes a little getting used to, but it's a really cool rig.
I'd like to see pictures of that. It's kind of hard to picture in my mind, but yeah, that's
yeah. I'll send you some pictures of both the board and the row sup.
So, and then I guess you started a group recently, right? Pretty recently, and you grew up from you to quite a few members pretty quickly. How did that happen? Tell us a little bit of the story behind that.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned at the very beginning of our conversation just now, I live in the Midwest, and it's a bit of a small boat desert. There's lots of us with small boats, but there's no, it's not like we live in Port Townsend or Mystic, Connecticut, or Florida or Texas that have these annual events.
They're the Meccas, yeah.
So, yeah, it's very the Meccas. That's right. It's very distributed, and so when I got the WETA, I found myself sort of wanting to meet other people that wanted to do that type of expedition sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I found the Dinghy Cruising Association. And so when I found them, I looked at the map and I was like, well, there doesn't seem to be a lot going on in Ohio and Lake Erie. Now, there is in a little farther west. Michigan there's a guy out there named Andrew Blodgett. He's got a trip coming up to Muskegon Lake that I'm going to. But like right in my backyard in the Erie Islands, which is a really special place, there was nothing. And so then I was like, well, be the change you seek, right?
Right.
So I contacted Mark Wisdom, who is the U.S. He's, as you know, Roger Barnes is the president,
right?
But they have regional chapters, and one of them is Mark's chapter in the United States. And so I just contacted him and said, hey, can I stand up a group here in Erie on, for dinghy cruisers? And he said, sure, yeah. And so he walked me through that.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. And so then that's how it started.
Mm-hmm.
I posted on the forums, didn't get a lot of response. And so then I made a website and started posting it on Facebook. And that's when and I also, Kelly Trafford, who you've interviewed in the past and who's kind of by example taught me a little bit about how to build, these small boat communities.
Yeah.
I just kind of followed his pattern of the way he was promoting it on social.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point we had 60 boats registered we had 40 boats registered for the event and 70 attendees. And we ended up with about 35 boats in attendance and 50 attendees.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's very good.
Yeah. But I attribute that honestly to the fact that it's like, if you're in a drought, a food desert, and you throw food down, everyone will come fight for it, right? So it's kind of like that. There's nothing to do, so I could have even just the smallest little event.
Right.
Went off really well though, and we had a great time.
Nice. That's such a great story. And what's unique about your group? The type of boats, or the events, or just pretty similar to other ones?
No, so there are a couple of things that are unique, and
Mm-hmm.
and again, none of them were intentional.
Mm-hmm.
The first is that the audience of boats is a little bit broader. If you look at like the Texas 200 or the Everglades 300, first of all, the Everglades is a race. Raid Erie is not a race; it's a true to form. Just mess about on the water, right?
Yeah.
Much more like Kelly's events, the Can-Am events, much more like the Texas 200. But the scope of boats. So I'm friends with Patrick Forrester, who runs Falcon Sales. He owns that business.
Oh, nice.
And I just am like, I was thinking to myself, a small boat is a small boat. Like, a beach ball could be a small boat if in the right situation, right? If you had the right attitude. And so I'm just like, why not just let anybody come? Kayaks, canoes,
right.
As long as it floats and you want to hang out with small boat people, why not come? And we don't have to limit it to just dinghies, is what I was saying.
Good
when
point.
the dinghy.
Good point. Yeah.
So about 10 or 12 of the boats that were in attendance, so a good third of the boats were actually sailing kayaks.
Nice.
So that would be the first thing that makes it different.
That's very unique. That's nice to see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So there's really no limits to the boats, right? And we had a big, I wouldn't say big, but big in the context of small boats. We had a Flow 19, it's only 19 feet long. The Sea Pearl's 21 feet long, so it's not the biggest boat there, but it has sort of like a mini transat feel to it. It's this big, modern, fast boat.
Oh, wow.
Thierry posted a video of him going, I think he was doing 8 knots speed over ground in about 11 knots of wind, so it's fast.
Right. Right.
So lots of variety of boats, from kayaks all the way up to even more cruising type, boats that you wouldn't see at a normal, raid type event for small boats. The second thing that's different is we don't have a prescribed route. So, and I think we might be the only group that does that. There's a couple reasons for it. I don't want to get into the business of telling people where they should go in their boats, right? Because on Lake Erie, especially, those conditions will change that dramatically. But the other thing is the Erie Islands, where it's held, it's kind of like it's not really conducive to a linear route. It's kind of if you pull up a map and you look at the Erie Islands, it's kind of the shotgun blast of islands, and Middle Bass Island, where we host it because of the marina there, is right in the middle. So it's like, well, where would you decide to go and why? Why not just let people make their own decisions, right? So we'll have them all come up on Friday. Those that want to can make the crossing from Catawba, which is, if you're a novice, an 8 nautical mile crossing is exciting, right? On open water. If you don't want to, then you can take the ferry over, and then we all get together Friday night for a reception and camping, and then it's choose your own adventure for Saturday and Sunday. You can go wherever you want. You can go to Kelly's and back. You can go up to Manila Bay and camp. You could go, if the weather supports it, you can go over Pelee with your passport and camp over there, or come back to, so more choose your own adventure. And based on the feedback I got from the survey, people like that. And so we'll probably keep it that way. And I guess be the only event that's like that, where, there's not like a Texas 200. We're going to go from this point to that point to that point. It's more of hey, we'll all meet at Middle Bass Island on Friday night for some beers and a fun keynote speaker. And then we'll just kind of hang out and go where we want to. And maybe some people will just stay on the dock, and drink beer and enjoy each other's company and check out each other's boats.
Yeah. So I guess you just had the Raid 2025, right?
Yeah, it was last weekend. It was August 1st through 3rd, and now so that was literally exactly 1 weekend ago. So we got let's see, some people came in Thursday night, especially people that were coming out of town. I also went up there Thursday night to set up. Then, like I said, about half the group made the crossing from Catawba. Depending on the route you take, it's 7 to 9 nautical miles.
Right.
That's a good day of sailing, right? A good 4 to 6 hours of sailing on the wind that we had that day. Right. A lot of folks took the ferry up, and then from 5 to 7 we had a dock walk, which is a really fun time of just kind of everybody meeting in the marina, walking around, looking at the boats, asking questions, taking notes of the boats that you like, because we're going to vote on, have like a best of show type voting. We call it Bell of the Buoys.
Nice.
Voting for everybody's favorite boat. Incidentally, I haven't done the tallying yet, but it's pretty clear that there is a 1930s town class boat. So it's almost 100 years old, this boat, for the event.
Yeah, so that would deserve it big time.
Yeah, and it's beautiful too. It's well maintained. Chris Iriarte, the guy, and I think his wife, they take really great care of it. And it's just a beautiful boat. And it has this boat is great. It has a Seagull motor on it. I don't know if you know this, but Seagull motors,
I know them well. Yes.
They don't have a clutch.
Yes.
So when you pull the starting cord, it's go time. It has a throttle.
You're on.
So
yes.
but you're right. It's go time. So yeah, we do that. I'm getting off topic there, so I'll get back on what we did for the event. So we did the dock walk from 5 to 7. Everybody got to meet each other, and then from 7 to 9 we go to St. Hazard's Campground and have a reception, dinner, drinks, more socializing and planning for the weekend. We had a keynote speaker. We were absolutely thrilled to have Sven Irvind.
Oh wow,
who is a legend. Yeah, I mean he's a living legend, and just you hear about people being a national treasure.
Oh,
and I think Sven is a human treasure.
He's a human treasure, definitely.
He's a human treasure. We had some copies of his books in the silent auction.
Wow.
All the proceeds from the silent auction went to Sven.
Yes.
To help fund the boat that he's building for his New Zealand trip.
Right.
Colin Angus, who is going to be our 2026 keynote speaker, donated a signed book. Roger Barnes donated a book. And then a bunch of attendees donated some things too. Like I donated my scamp. Yeah, I donated my scamp plans because I don't need them anymore because I bought 157. So I donated the scamp plans for the scamp that I never built.
Right.
And a bunch of people bought like art that they made, and one guy brought some loot from his business, which was really cool.
Wow.
So we raised $1,100 towards to help build Sven's next boat.
Wow.
So that was Friday. Then we had a bonfire.
That's impressive.
Yeah, but he was just a gem and answered everybody's questions. And I'm going to post the recording too, and I'll share it with you so you can have access to it and share with others if you like.
Absolutely.
And then we had a bonfire after Friday night. We went on to the west side of the island just as the sun was going down at 9:00, and we had some tiki torches and, some little, chairs around a beach fire, and people were hanging out. And then Saturday we all got up and, caffeinated ourselves and grabbed a quick bite. We all just went our separate ways in little flotilla groups of ragtag, mismatched patched quilt groups of little boats. There was even a puddle duck racer there and a sunfish on Lake Erie. This guy, John Huff, took his sunfish, and this guy's a serious cruiser. You could, he knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
He took the sunfish and he's done some modifications to it. He took the sunfish all the way from Middle Bass to Manila Bay on North Bass Island, which, on Lake Erie, on any given Sunday, that could be a pretty hairy trip. And he just fearlessly, they took the puddle duck and the sunfish to Manila Bay. So that was really impressive to see those little boats. A puddle duck's nothing more than a piece of plywood with some sides on it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, great organization. So I guess the route is determined, by the wind, really, right? The groups depending on their abilities and so on, right? So
exactly, by the wind, the conditions and the whim of the group. In fact, this year we did some pre-planning. We got together the week before on Zoom calls and did some some like letting people meet each other. We'll probably skip that next year. Because, I knew this going into it. I knew that the plans would change just because Erie is like that. Right.
Right.
But next year we're going to have a breakfast on Saturday morning from like maybe 7 to 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
Where we'll do all the same stuff that we did, but now we're planning, literally looking at the weather that we're going to go out in with the people. And that way, the same last minute decisions that we would otherwise make, we're making them as our first decisions versus making plans and then changing them. Right.
Right. So kind of like a breakfast skippers meeting kind of thing. So
yeah. Nice. A little flotilla group meeting. And then from that, the little groups will form organic groups. Hey, where do you want to go? Where do you want to spend the night? Eat some breakfast, fraternize a little bit and then get on the water.
Probably alluded to that. Is there some other standout moments or challenges from the event that happened?
No challenges. We did have two run-ins, two safety issues that required us to contact the Coast Guard. Neither of them were serious and neither of them resulted in injuries. The contacting of the Coast Guard was merely sort of, hey, you're organizing an event, and when there's a safety issue, there's a threshold that you cross where you have to, you have to pick up the radio and make the call, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they were all learning experiences for everybody involved. And I think, we might make some changes to the guidelines next year based on some of the things learned there. But nothing, knock on wood, the conditions were great too. The conditions on Erie can swing greatly from sort of glass to hell in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we had really consistent sort of mild to medium conditions all weekend with beautiful clear skies. And so that had a lot to do, I think, with, on another weekend, we would have had a lot of boats upside down, and that's fine. Like people know, they know what they're getting into, and we'll all be there for each other. And at the end of the day, dry off at the dock and have a laugh. But this year was pretty benign. Nice. Learned a lot of lessons about how to make it better next year, but no problems to solve, really. Just improvement.
No, that's great. But you've alluded to this as well. Some interesting boats or unusual solutions that participants brought this. Anything you can think of?
Yeah. So interesting boats, unusual solutions. So the puddle duck stands out as sort of the best combination of both of those, right? I saw it on the trailer as it was coming over on the ferry because I had gone into Catawba to help people get into the water at the boat ramp, and I saw it and I was like, oh, this is a really cool boat. And there's some great shots on the Facebook group of him sort of bashing upwind between North Bass and between Middle Bass and North Bass. There was a core sound, a B&B core sound there that was beautiful.
Nice.
Obviously, the 1930s town class was really interesting. There were quite a few trailer sailors like West White Potters and, the sort of 15-foot swing keel trailer sailors that they were there.
Yeah.
There were 2 sea pearls, which
Okay.
was interesting. You have to have them both together on the water, and they're both just beautiful specimens, well maintained, beautiful sails and rigging.
Nice variety. Plus your kayaks and so on that you were talking about, sailing kayaks,
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
all of Patrick's group with the sailing kayaks, they were there. As I'm gonna kick myself because I do think there is 1 or 2 really interesting boats. Certainly, the Puddle Duck is at the top of the list.
Yeah, great. And so, what do you think is the, I guess, secret sauce of a successful raid or dinghy cruise like this?
Well, one of them is reproducible and one of them's not. The one that's not reproducible is kind of what I shared earlier, and that is, if you build a well in the middle of the desert, it'll be a popular place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely what contributed most to the success, is the fact that we just don't have events like this.
Right.
And I made the event for myself. Like, if I were going to go be attracted to an event like this, what would it look like? And so then I made that event, and now I got a bunch of other people like me who want that same type of thing went to the event. The other thing I think is to just, especially for a first year event, I think it's important to act as if, be a little, like have a first class website, and don't act like it's your first year. You know what I mean? Like, have a keynote speaker and have it be somebody, like, you can imagine when I dialed Sven's phone number, like, this guy's not going to answer. And if he does, he's going to tell me to go pound sand, right? Like, you know what I mean? He's a legend. But I took the shot.
Yeah.
And you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's what I would say, is like, just act a little bigger than you are, and then grow into that.
Yeah.
And that's what we did this year. We had a really nice website, Facebook group, real clear communication, as if we had done it a million times. And that helps a lot. I got a lot of feedback that the communication and organization made people enjoy the event.
Absolutely. So what's next for your group?
Well, 2026, I hope to see it be an annual event. We're going to hopefully have sponsors next year. We already have 1 sponsor lined up. I have about 15 to contact. I'm going to wait till after the first of the year to do that. But I want to try to shoot for sort of doubling the event next year, both in terms of attendees and number of boats. I just want to grow the event and turn it into a household name, like, a regional benefit to the small boat community, just like they have in the Pacific Northwest, and just like what Chuck has done with the Texas 200. That's now a cultural. That's had a cultural impact on the people, the small boat community in that region. That's what I want to do is like, have this outlet for people to look forward to every year and bring happiness and joy and a real reason to come together and do, because we're weird, right? We're super, it doesn't get any weirder and more like fringe than people who want to go camp on small boats. Like, those two things don't go together unless you get it, unless they do, right? And if they do, then you get it. And, that's my tribe. And I want to build something that makes a cultural impact for this group in the Pacific, in the Northwest.
How do you see, in general, I guess, dinghy cruising evolving over the next 5-10 years? Is this going to catch on more? There seems to be more and more, in my opinion, but maybe it's my perspective. I get to talk to so many.
Yeah. So I'm actually very encouraged. One of the things that I've noticed about the small boat, the dinghy cruising community in general, is that there are a lot of pockets of groups that are older. Right. And that's fine. I'm on the low end of that, actually. I'm only 54. I'm 54 years old. So I'm kind of right in the middle, but I'm on the low end of the older side, and I'll be old one day too. But one of the things that worries me is that, like, we'll all age out. Like, I have a sailing club here where I live, and all of the Thistle racers and the MC Scow racers, they're all much older, and the median age is in the high 60s. And so one of the challenges they have is that club is starting to sort of age out. Right. And eventually it'll just dry on the vine. Right. So I was really encouraged at Raid Erie that the median age there was probably in the 30s.
Oh, nice.
There were some couples there that were in their 20s.
Wow.
And a few of the people that I named, so I think John Huff, I think he's in his late 20s. The point I'm trying to make is there's lots of younger people because of the internet. They know about the Everglades 300. Rob Almer in his Wind Rider, he's a younger guy. So it's really encouraging to see that because we're marketing it on social, and we're not marketing it through the standard sort of like DCA forum. And so not that those are bad, but you know what I mean? The audience is different.
Yes.
We're seeing a younger group, which means they're out there and they're everywhere. Yes. They're not just, these are just the people that heard about it and were within driving distance and decided to come. Those same young people are in Arizona and they're in, Alabama and they're in Hawaii. You know what I mean? They're all out there with the same weird desire and weird, passions that we have. Yeah. And so I'm actually optimistic for that because if we can get a younger group here in Ohio, then that really says a lot for the future of this type of stuff across the board, being a little bit more evergreen.
Yeah, it's a testament to you for pulling these people, and that's fantastic. It bodes well for the future of the sport if we can get new blood like that. It seems like you have, so that's fantastic. And for somebody, I guess next year, somebody that hears about this and say, oh, wow, I missed it, but I would like to join next year. What would you tell them? What do they start planning for this? And gear maybe and safety? Where should they be starting? They got a year ahead of them. Where would you tell them to start?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's actually really relevant to some of the lessons that we learned. We want to be really inclusive with this event. I don't think we ever want to reach a point, if it were a race, and by the way, we are planning, another small group are planning a race, and I'd love to talk about the details for that as well.
Sure.
If it were a race, that'd be a different story, right? Like you have to, for the R2AK, you have to apply for all of the Northwest Maritime Center races. I think you have to apply and then they review and then they approve, right? This is a raid and it should be inclusive, right? It should be sort of like, if you can get your boat there on a trailer and get it to the dock, there should be enough of a community around that even if you don't know how to sail, you should be able to enjoy something about the dock walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I would say is, there's 3 buckets of skills that a person needs to have in order to minimize risk. You'll never guarantee success, right? Every time you step on the boat, you've just increased your chances of getting hurt on a boat by orders of magnitude. But the 3 buckets of skill are: you need to know how to sail, or operate the boat if it's not a sailboat, right? You need to know the boat itself, right? So I can be an expert sailor, but step on a new boat and now I'm immediately at a deficit in terms of knowledge and skills. And you need to know the region, right? Where you're sailing. Mm-hmm. And what I was telling one of the people that was at the event is if you're strong in 2 of those, then you can sort of learn as you go with the third. If you're strong in only one of those, then you should probably take the ferry and stay near the dock and ask for help and sort of don't go out. How do you get strong in those 3 things? Well, you just need to sail.
Yeah.
And you need to go out and actually, you need to smoke test and shake down your boat as if you were at an event like this. So it's one thing to know how to sail it, but it's another thing to know how to rig it for camping while you're on the water. It's a completely different activity, right?
Absolutely.
And it can be challenging. So what I told some of the folks that were struggling a little bit this last weekend was, listen, between now and next trip, go out in some really stiff conditions on your boat. Forget camping. Just go out and test yourself, capsize your boat with help. Just become so comfortable with the boat that nothing is surprising or exciting about it, even the worst case scenario. Now you've got one box checked. Then go out and sort of camp and learn the mechanics of anchoring and spidering up and finding the right places and looking at the wind forecast before you settle in for the night to see, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
Those nuances. But you just have to train like you fight, right? You just have to train like you plan to camp.
Yeah.
And go and do it a couple times before you come to a big event like that has, big crossing. Cause it's a big boy and girl event, right? It's in the middle of Lake Erie. You have to take a crossing or a ferry to get there. It's not from a beach location. So it's an intermediate event, but we want beginners to feel comfortable. So you just got to practice, get out there and do it.
Are you going to have events for beginners? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We talked about it a little on the way back, like maybe asking for a volunteer from the group to spend Saturday morning with beginners. But, you can't learn to sail in a day, right?
Well, you can learn in 50. I always say you can learn in 15 minutes and 50 years to master.
Right. That's right. But we just want to, I think we just need to have some more structure around like guidance for beginners. And that is, like you said, if you're new to this stuff, don't make the crossing. Don't even think about it. Right. From, on Friday.
Yeah.
And B, scale your expectations based on your experience level in those three buckets, your ability to operate your craft, sail, row, whatever, right. In general.
Yeah.
The craft itself, if it's new to you, but you're an expert sailor, you're not an expert in that boat.
No,
right. The Scamp taught me that. The Scamp is, I think people kind of regard the Scamp as this sort of like pretty forgiving, easy boat. And it is. Mm-hmm. But when you're using it in a serious context, there's a lot to learn to get it dialed in so that you're not fumbling around and doing things in the right order, and so that you can have a good time versus learning as you go.
Right. Don't want to scare people. There's a lot of skills that everybody learns, but you can start, like you say, simply by doing slowly and adding to those skills. Like you say, even anchoring is a skill in itself. There's a lot of skills that you develop and a lot you learn along the way, and usually the groups are the best way to balance those skills and get those built, I think.
I agree. The fact that we had a group made it possible for the less experienced people to have a good time this past week.
You also mentioned something about race. Are you thinking like the Florida Challenge, the EC Challenge? Is that what you're thinking of doing? Kind of an expedition race?
That's right. So, one of the first questions people asked early on about Raid Erie was, is it a race? Could there be a race? We want a race. So it was clear that there was an app, just like there's no races up here, or no raids, and that's why we had such great attendance. There's also no races. Mm-hmm. And the Erie Islands are really well suited for, you can slice and dice those races, those islands into a race course, dozens of different ways. And so, there's a small group of us that are collaborating and planning a race for 2026. We're going to alpha test the route in the spring.
Right.
It's we're thinking it'll be an annual event in the fall, maybe September. Every year, somewhere between 80 and 120 nautical miles. Again, what will make this different is we will have a different course each year. It will always be through the Erie Islands. Mm-hmm. But like the first year, we're going to do two laps around the islands, which is 100 nautical miles. Next year, we might do use the islands as stepping stones and go all the way to the Ontario mainland and back, which is 80 nautical miles, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We'll vary the course every year. But it will, exactly like you said, it'll be very much like the Everglades Challenge. In fact, the race that we're modeling it after in terms of like the messaging and the tone of the rules, et cetera, is the Northwest Maritime Center 70-48 race.
Right.
Because it is a shorter race. Theirs is shorter and ours is shorter compared to the other ones. Mm-hmm. That's what, that's the closest thing to it. Right. is that race. It's going to be a Friday through Monday race. So even the really slow folks that can only get in 20 miles a day will still have a chance to finish. The fast folks will finish in probably 2 days. There's not going to be any racing at night, just for safety reasons, right. Because of the unpredictable nature and the offshore nature of some of the crossings and all the pleasure boats and ferries. Mm-hmm. One of the fundamental decisions we made was to have no racing at night. So it's going to be checkpoint based. Mm-hmm. So once you get to your last checkpoint for the day, if you can't make the next checkpoint by nightfall, then you got to get off the water. You can camp or anchor aboard your boat. And then the next morning at daylight, you're able to pick up right where you left off at your previous checkpoint and then keep on racing. First person, we'll have an open class, which is all the boats. And then we're also going to have a portage class. So there's lots of opportunities. Mm-hmm. People that are like, oh, well, Everglades lets you race at night, and they go 750 nautical miles to Ketchikan, and they let you race at night, right? Yeah. We're big boys and girls. We can race at night. Well, if you want to go get killed by a ferry on your own time,
it's a little different.
Right there, man. You can do it anytime you want to, right?
It's a little different. Plus, you would need lights, and even then, you want to anyway.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's important to be safe, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. So,
Yeah.
but for the people that are like, well, we want that nighttime sort of sleep deprivation, Bear Grylls. I just want to be a hardcore adventurer. Those folks can portage. Now you'd need a portage able boat, right? Well, you'd need a rowboat that you could tow behind a bicycle, or a kayak that you could, whatever.
Yeah.
There's lots of boats and lots of ways to do this. But there are portage opportunities. There's a huge 10-kilometer portage opportunity on Pelee Island from the north checkpoint to the south checkpoint. So lots of things in this race that you won't see in other races. The fact that it'll change every year, and that there's that portaging in the in the portage class will be a huge element to winning. Like the people who cross the finish line first, unless it's just screaming out wind wise and the big sailboats can beat them. The people who win this are going to be the ones that portage.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. We'll find out, I guess.
Because they can clear checkpoints at night while everybody else is stuck.
Right.
Not being able to make progress.
Oh, interesting. Well, keep us up to date. That sounds very interesting. You've done an amazing job with the organization, building this up from nothing in a year, really. So that's amazing. So kudos to you. Well done.
Well, thank you. It takes a village. I had help. My friend Dan helped out with the setup, and Patrick Forrester helped and also Kelly to a certain degree with the model that he set. But like I said, if there's one thing that made it successful, it was the fact that people just want to do this in this region, and there's no other outlet for it.
Correct. Thank you so much for your time, Eric. It's been great talking to you and learning about your organization.
Thanks, man. Thank you for, I've listened to quite a few of your episodes and enjoy the content. And I feel like you're like me. We're just two, weirdos that are trying to promote this weird, passion.
Absolutely. I know. It's
doing our part,
I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's infectious to see somebody that wants to bring the community together and build this weirdo hobby up. So that's great. Thank you for that, Eric. In our next episode, we have Dan Rubenstein, who does nano cruising on an SUP, and documented very well in the book Waterborne. So do come back for that. Thank you again for being a listener, for being part of this group, for giving feedbacks, pointing people to interview, to talk to, and topics to cover. That's the way to grow this sport. And until next time, seize your own adventure.